Acts 18:5-8. When Silas and Timothy came from Macedonia, Paul devoted himself exclusively to preaching, testifying to the Jews that Jesus was the Messiah. But when they opposed Paul and became abusive, he shook out his clothes in protest and said to them, "Your blood be on your own heads. I'm innocent of it. From now on, I will go to the Gentiles." Then Paul left the synagogue and went next door to the house of Titius Justice, a worshiper of God. Crispus, the synagogue leader, and his entire household believed in the Lord, and many of the Corinthians who heard Paul believed and were baptized. Perhaps tired from tent making in Corinth, as soon as backup shows with Silas and Timothy, Paul goes into full-time preacher mode. No longer is it an if he gets opposed, but in verse 6, it is now a when. And when they do, similar to shaking the dust off, he shakes his clothes out in disapproval and makes a wild callback to something the crowd said at Jesus' trial before Pilate about the blood of guilt being on your own heads. On the one hand, this feels harsh and punitive to the Jews. On the other, Jesus says, don't throw your pearls to pigs. Of course, Paul does still go on and reach out to more Jews, so this is an absolute statement that isn't quite absolute, but maybe more of an exclamation of exhaustion. But here's the big takeaway in verse 7. When you're rejected, just go next door. And there's people that want to know about the good news. Titius Justice and Crispus and many other Corinthians. There's a little shout out in 1 Corinthians chapter 1 verse 4 that says that Paul was the one that personally baptized Crispus, which is really cool. This passage reminds me of a story where someone was invited to a Bible study but didn't show up. Turns out the roommate heard the invitation and came instead, studied the Bible, and became a Christian. I think the lesson here is keep it moving. Don't lose heart. God's plan is bigger than ours. There's always an open door, and sometimes it's just right next door.